Welcome into Getting Help from Uncle Sam. You know, if you've been in this country long enough, you remember when you went to school, you had a thing called civics. In civics, you learned that in the government, we have three branches: legislative, judicial, and also executive. Each has their own jobs. Congressman Barry Moore is with us today. He's in the legislator part of it. And to make it kind of simple, it's kind of like if you have a business, a corporation, he's on the board of directors. And what they do is they kind of set the policies.
That's right.
They create the laws by which the corporation runs, and that's the way it works in our country. Then they hired a CEO. Well, in this case, you guys don't hire him. We hire the CEO. Right. That becomes our president, and they have to do different things. And then the judicial's there if everything kind of goes awry, right, to kind of say, let's get back into perspective here. Well, it seems, Congressman Moore, that as we sit here in this country today, things are kind of awry. Mm-hmm. We hear of something happening, we go, where's that in the law? Mm-hmm. You know, we've been talking about the border and all the immigration and people coming across the border for God knows how many years now.
Yes.
And basically, they say, well, we got to do something. Well, the law is there. Enforce the law.
Absolutely.
It's not happening.
No, we're just simply not enforcing the law. No. And, you know, the Custom and Border guys will tell you, and I've been on the border 3 times, is they'll tell you if we would simply just enforce the laws on the books. And now we've made concierge guys out of them. They mm-hmm. greet people coming into the country. They take them and get them registered. They're not looking for the fentanyl. They're not looking for the heroin or cocaine or the criminals that are crossing.
Right.
They're grabbing these people who are claiming that they need asylum, and they're taking them down and doing all their paperwork. And so by tying their hands and not letting them enforce the laws on the books, we have put them in grave danger in the nation and I think in some precarious position.
Well, and the case is this. It's not we don't want you here. We just want you here the right way.
Absolutely.
You know, I'm an Italian. My family came here the right way, through New York, through Ellis Island, and they had to pay their dues, and eventually I want to become a citizen of the United States. Who knows what's out there now?
Well, the thing is that we know, and the numbers are, we've had 5 million encounters on the U.S. southern border. That's the entire state's population.
Yes.
We have 107,000 people die from opioid overdoses. Mm-hmm. And remember, Jack, Richard Nixon started a war on drugs in this country. We had 6,500 people die. We had 107,000 die from opioid overdose. And it's like the Biden administration has just turned a blind eye, deaf ear to the needs of the people, the agents on the border, and the country. And that's the number one killer in young America right now, is 18 to 45, is these fentanyl pills. And so, or fentanyl, I think is how the docs say it. But it's one of those things that we really need to look into. We've had 1,000 people die, illegals, just trying to get across the border. And then we've got 20,000 children we can't account for. Unaccompanied minors that came here that we put them on a bus, shipped them to a Google address, and didn't background check the adults that took them. So we're trafficking children for God knows what to God knows where, and we're paying the bill.
So basically, we talked about these 3 branches. In your branch, legislative, you put together the laws that we need to be running our country by so that it runs smoothly. Mm-hmm. And then if you take somebody like in the executive branch and they make up their own law, who's there to go, who does the hand slapping?
We would hope the courts would do that, right? I mean, they're kind of, like you said, they're the overseer.
Should the Department of Justice do that or not?
No, I don't think so. And I think because, again, I think it has to go, well, I think so, the judicial branch, if you will. Because sometimes the DOJ, the FBI fall under the executive branch, they're appointed leaders. And so that makes me, again, that raises some concerns in the way it's been operating lately. The more we know, the more I'm concerned. But certainly the judges have an opportunity, the branch of government, the judicial branch, to step in and say, hey, Mr. President, you've overstepped your bounds, or this is not within your purview. And so, and I think that's one thing, now that we don't have 3, well, we had, the whole government was controlled by the Democrats. You know, we had the House, the Senate, and the White House the last 22, 23 months. Now that the Republicans have the House of Representatives, I think there's some accountability coming. We're starting to look at some things to put pressure and try to bring some attention, if you will, to the border, to the opioid crisis, to inflation, things that are really impacting the American people that are not happy with the CEO they hired.
And of course, the biggest thing about this too is a lot of judges should be very impartial.
That's right.
And I think we're starting to see quite a few judges that are partial to a cause or a person or to something.
Yes, and that's why a lot of times if they're trying to bring a case, they want it in a certain circuit, a certain court, so that way that they know those judges kind of lean in their direction, so they'll always have to have it or try to have it trialed or put into that jurisdiction of that court. So hopefully those judges will rule in their favor. Ultimately, it boils down to the Supreme Court, and we saw that with Roe v. Wade. You know, ultimately it boils down to the Supreme Court, and I think President Trump did a great job with the 3 judges he put on board, and so I think you'll see some things start to tighten, and then we'll get some improvements coming out of the highest court in the land, if you will.
And I think the major thing is this. People don't understand, you understand, that all of government is here to serve the people. We're not here to serve the government.
We should never forget that, Jack. I
Right.
mean, I think the American people in some ways have lost sight of that. And so I think it's important, and I feel like that's one of the things we must do is truly, and you see it and you hear people say it, but do they mean it? We should be public servants. We should really be serving the people. And so it frustrates me sometimes when I get in there and I see the swamp and I see the system, and it doesn't care about the people that paying the bills, the people that set it up for them to be in charge and to have the say-so, and then just ignore those very people. It's frustrating, but hopefully we'll see where we actually move it back to more of a public servant, and we're actually doing the job rather than the people serving us.
Well, thank you for what you're doing, and remember this, Congressman Moore has a very lean but a very efficient staff. They're here to serve you. Reach out, go to their website, and you can get all the information you need to be able to get any help in any area. It may be veterans, it may be the fact that you're having a problem with Medicare, whatever it is, they're there to serve. And we'll be right back right after this.